Welcome to the Unfiltered Friends podcast, where we humanize your favorite creators through their personal stories and then learn something from them. I hope you feel inspired by today's guest, and if you do, share it with someone who needs it. So without further ado, here is Unfiltered Friends. Hello, Unfiltered Friends. Today we have on Nottheworstcleaner, Brogan. We've been mutuals for, I don't know, how long at this point?
A while. Mm-hmm.
And throughout that time, I actually started to have more of a connection to the type of content that she makes because I started going to therapy. And when I would have a tough session, the way that I would help myself recover was to clean my space. So I'm going to have some questions about that. But Brogan, tell us, people think you're a cleaner.
Yeah.
And you are, but not professional. Tell people who you are and what exactly it is that you do.
Yeah. So actually, I mean, like you said, a lot of people assume I am a cleaner by trade, and I'm not. My background is in psychology. When I was younger, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and I found the correlation between mental health and cleaning to be very dominant in my life at a very young age. So by the time I went to university and was living on my own and, doing all of the things a 18, 19-year-old would do, my apartment was, honestly, it looked pretty much like some of the videos that I clean. And I realized how horrible that was for my mental health and how much it really affected me. And the more that I studied in school and the more I, researched it, I realized just, how insane it actually is. A lot of people think cleaning is like a taboo subject. We're just expected to do it and know how to do it and be fine doing it. And 9 times out of 10 people aren't, especially throughout their entire lives. So I definitely focused in on that. But no, I'm just a mom of 3. And during COVID, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go on TikTok, use some of my time wisely, and share some of just tips and tricks is what I started with. And I'd mention, different things that had to do with the correlation between mental health and cleaning here and there. And it took off. Like, first video absolutely skyrocketed. And I was like, holy cow, like there is a lot of people out there that need and want this information that they just can't easily get. So it just kind of snowballed from there. And here we are 2 years later, and
I know.
It's a full-time gig.
I watch cleaning videos, but not for tips and tricks. There's just something I'm so sucked in currently to rug cleaning TikTok. Yes. And storm drain cleaning TikTok, where they clear the storm drains.
So satisfying.
Why is that so satisfying to so many brains?
It itches. It's like it itches something in your brain. It just gives you those, feel good endorphins that you didn't know you needed. Any kind of a before and after is what I really love. When you get that really good before and after shot, just gives you that satisfaction, like you cleaned it yourself kind of thing, right? But our brains, whether we're conscious to it or not, our brains don't like cluttered spaces. They don't, that input, it doesn't like to take in cluttered spaces. When we are living in environments like the ones that I do clean, again, consciously or not, your brain is taking in all of that surrounding stimuli and it registers it as unfinished business. And that signals a low-grade fight or flight mode in our brains at all times. That's why when people live like that, they're normally profusely anxious, always overwhelmed. Simple tasks are insanely difficult to them because they're living in that constant chaos. It's a lot more than I think people realize.
What are some common diagnosis for people? I mean, not that you diagnose people that you clean. I'm assuming you're not part of that. The psychological process with them, but in your background, what have you noticed are some of the most common mental health diagnoses for people who end up in hoarding situations?
Honestly, when it's with the younger crowd, almost 9 times out of 10, again, don't diagnose or anything, but they typically will have ADHD. It's very mundane tasks are hard for people who have hyperactive disorders and things like that. It's just to stay on track with the same, day in, day out, knowing you have to do that for the rest of your life when it's not something that works very well with your brain. It's very boring and you learn to resent cleaning itself. And then you don't want to do it, and you fall into that cycle of, you procrastinate and you do everything else possible before you have to do that thing, and you do everything to avoid it. And then it just leads to that disappointment and overwhelm because it builds up quick, like very quickly. If you put that off for a while, for anybody, it builds up quickly. So it just becomes very overwhelming to them. But yeah, ADHD seems to be the number one, I would definitely say. But at the same time, it's all across the board. Everybody that I've dealt with, they've all had their own different things, whether it's actual mental health that they struggle with on a regular basis, or they're going through a rough period of life. I've dealt with people that, have lost family members or jobs, or, just COVID alone has hurt a lot of people in that aspect, just changing routines and things. So it's right across the board. And I think it affects a lot more people than most realize.
Have you looked into, say someone has ADHD, but they want to be a cleaner person? Do you have suggestions for these people for like ways to make it so they're less likely to end up just abandoning their space?
Right. So I'll try to simplify this in like a shorter version, but basically at the end of the day, it's all about mindset. Everybody's brain is hardwired differently. We learn in different ways. We process things differently. One way of learning anything in the world is not going to work for everybody. And, when we grow up, a lot of the times we're not even being taught how to clean. It's not a part of our childhood. It's not something that we grow up with when it should be. Technically, it is a self-care task. It's something you're doing for yourself to make your life easier and better and more comfortable. But we don't grow up with that. And if we do, like I grew up with a mom who used cleaning as a punishment. Right. So it was, I got in trouble and it was go clean your room. And I'd have no idea how to clean my room. Right. I was a kid. I'd shove stuff under the bed or in the closet, or right. I wasn't given those specific details. And again, as a child with ADHD, I needed those specifics that put this here, put that there, wipe this down. It was just go clean, go do it. And if, I even asked any questions, it was not a good scenario, right?
Yeah.
So I find a lot of kids are either raised in that aspect where, it's used as a punishment, or it's just not taught because the mother or father, whoever they have, does it for them so they don't have to do it. So then when you get thrown into adulthood with all of the other stuff you have going on and all of the other responsibilities you have, now you have to do this boring, mundane task day in and day out, or you get that overwhelming, cluttered, messy home, right? So I think it's all about shifting your mindset to, you don't have to do it all at once. I think my biggest thing back in the day was I would wait until it was absolutely destroyed. And then I would spend an 8-hour day cleaning the entire house. And at the end of the day, I'm like, oh my God, I never want to do that again. That was a waste of my time. I resented it. It's mindset. Break it down. You don't have to do it all at once, piece by piece. I do a different room every day. So my cleaning schedule, it's like, bedrooms on a Monday, bathroom on a Friday, kitchen on a Thursday. And I do my kitchen on the same day that I get groceries. I just set little things up that work for me and in my favor with the way my brain works and my lifestyle, again, unrealistic expectations too are, I think, the Instagram world has killed us when it comes to that. You see these picture perfect homes,
like sterile. They're like absolutely sterile.
And you're like, am I supposed to live like that? Like, is that real life? And most of the people who follow me do, they have families, they have kids, they have it's so unrealistic. And when you have that vision in your head of what you think your home's supposed to look like and it's unachievable, you're setting yourself up for that disappointment and that, crappy feeling where you just resent cleaning in general and don't want to do it, but it's something we have to do for the rest of our lives, right? So
yeah,
I think huge mindset change.
People look at those like really like sterile places as like success, I think. I definitely am one of them for a while until I started to heal some of my own stuff. And as someone who I lived in LA for a long time, I've been in a lot of really, really expensive homes that look like that. And it's like no one lives there. It's like impossible to keep they don't. It's just like for show. So if you're actually occupying the space, the likelihood of keeping it that clean is not hugely likely.
And if you're not doing it and not living up to it, you get that mindset of like, why bother even doing anything at all, right? Like if I can't achieve that, what's the point? And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's where a lot of people do fall back a little bit. And one of the major things that I always tell people is never to base your self-worth on what your home looks like. Your self-worth is never dependent on the cleanliness of your home. And I think that correlates so strongly with that unrealistic idea of what it should be like, right? Because if you can't keep up with that, your brain's just gonna, the wheels are turning and you're thinking, well, I can't do anything else then, right? It's a
Yeah.
world of disappointment. And again, I don't think people really realize how strong that correlation is because most aren't, conscious to it. So I think once people are more aware of it, it becomes a little easier because you can kind of do that self-talk of, okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. I can clean for 5 minutes and it doesn't all have to be done, but it's helping me, right?
Yes.
So
So one of the things that obviously took off for was doing free cleanings for people, which I think is a wonderful thing. I want to acknowledge this first. I was doing a lot of research, and you just have an overall like warm feeling, and it's like that's why I was so excited for this conversation, because I can tell that your heart is really in what it is that you do. With the first one that you did, how did that even come to pass?
well, I like you said, I didn't start out doing these free cleanings. So the more of a platform I built, the more emails and messages I would get from people begging me for help, sending me photos of the places, just asking me how to get started, asking me if I knew of companies. So I originally started fundraising to have
Mm.
companies go into people's homes and clean them for them, but quickly realized that that was not an easy task. To be able to find the right companies in the right places was almost impossible. I had cleaning companies turning me down left, right, and center for these homes because it's not a typical clean. It's a toxic, hazardous white suit clean, right? It's a totally different ball game. And then the price goes up tens of thousands of dollars for each home. So that's when I was like, you know what? I obviously this isn't working. I need to do something else. I just felt so compelled to just help on my own. And the same time that that was going on, I had a mother reach out that actually her kids go to my son's school. And she said, "Look, I've seen your videos. I saw you doing fundraising. Like I wanted to reach out and just let you know, I'm really struggling." And she sent me some photos, and that was my first one. The minute I found out who she was and that her kids went to my kid's school, that was it for me. Having kids the same age as mine, I was like, I will come this weekend. And that was it. It took off from there. I cleaned her home and posted some videos about it, talking about, how hard it is when you're struggling that hard, especially as a single mother, and the amount of people that actually it resonated with, and how many people messaged me saying, "Oh my God, I thought I was the only one. Like, I didn't know other people were in these same situations. I didn't think I could ever get help, or, I don't feel alone anymore." That was enough for me to continue on.
What was her reaction like when you were finished with the process of cleaning?
I actually wasn't there. It was the only place that I didn't stay to see their reaction because
Oh,
we didn't know how big the job was going to actually be. The photos she sent me were not comparable to what the home actually was. So we had like,
like was it worse?
oh yeah. Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Like she probably sent me 5 or 6 photos of like the cleanest corners of the home.
Mm,
So we showed up and we couldn't even open the front door. And I knew she was timid because she said, "Oh, I left the door unlocked. Let me know whenever you're finished up and I'll come home." And as soon as I knew that, I was like, what a sin. She doesn't think we're going to go through with it, or we're going to show up and turn her down or whatever. Right. So we went and opened the door. And thankfully, I brought my friend with me that time just to help carry all the garbage because I knew it was mostly garbage. And we opened the door and you couldn't even open the door. You had to shove it open because there was
mm,
so much on the floor. You couldn't tell if that floor was tile, laminate, carpet. It was just like an ocean of garbage that would go up. You'd see it go up about 4 or 5 feet of garbage and then back down. And
wow.
yeah, just knowing that 3 kids were living there. And, she said that she's had CPS come knocking on her door a couple of times, warning her that, they will come have to take the children if something's not done about it, which was why she had, worked up the courage to message me in the first place. She was very worried about that happening. So I did that for her. I didn't get to see her reaction, but she sent me a video of her oldest daughter walking in, who is my son's age. So she's 7. And it absolutely shattered my heart because she walked in and she was so excited. She started dancing around the kitchen. And then you hear her mom go look in the fridge. And she went to look in the fridge and opened the fridge up and started crying. It was
Mm,
like Christmas morning for her. And what broke me the most, I'm going to try not to cry, but
it's
what broke
okay.
me the most is that the fridge was empty. She was crying and excited because her fridge wasn't full of rotting food anymore. She was crying because it was like empty and clean. So that right there, that was it for me. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to help people. Just knowing that I could physically help people in my community and also take that and use it on my platform and raise that awareness and spread that knowledge was, it was like that light bulb moment where I was like, this is what I'm meant for. Right.
Yeah. It seems like there's a ton of, I mean, even the fact that she didn't show you exactly how bad it was, and I guarantee you a lot of other people go through this too, seems like a lot of shame
Yeah.
surrounding it. And it's not that they don't want to fix it, it's just that shame builds up to the point where you just want to hide from it. Um, what are some things that you could say to people who are experiencing a lot of shame surrounding asking for help to maybe help them?
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on about that because I don't think I've ever been somewhere where they've let anybody else in. Most of the places I go, they've said, I haven't been able to let family or friends in my home in years. Like, I'm too embarrassed to ask for help, too scared to ask for help. A lot of moms in these situations are worried that somebody's going to come take their kids, or a lot of older folks also think they're going to get evicted if anybody finds out and things like that. But at the end of the day, I think the probably one of the best things about 2023 is how much awareness there is starting to become about mental health and the importance of it and how much it affects other people. So my main thing is just go to somebody that you love and cares for you, because at the end of the day, if you are reaching out for help to somebody you love, they're not going to judge you. They're going to love you. They're
Hmm.
going to want to help you. And if they can't help you, they're going to find somebody that can help you. And I know it's
Hmm.
scary and I know it's so hard, but that weight lift that you would feel off your shoulders the minute you actually asked for that help would be worth any kind of, potential judgment or shame that you would receive from it. It is hard. It's something that you have to kind of almost hit rock bottom and really, really want that help to be able to get it. But it's just getting over that shame and fear. It's definitely hard. I wish I had a magic
Hmm.
wand for everybody, but that's again one of the main reasons why I share what I do on my page, because I've had so many people reach out saying, I thought I was alone. I thought I couldn't reach out for help. I was scared to reach out for help, but watching them do it helps me do it. So
Yeah.
it's important to reach out for help, especially in situations like that.
And be careful with who you, are you familiar with Brene Brown?
No, I'm not.
Brene Brown is incredible. She's a shame researcher. She has a
Okay.
lot of like TED Talks and like books, and she has a book called The Book of Imperfection. And one of the things that, like, as someone who's a little bit of a people pleaser or has been and like kind of
Hmm.
overshares, share with someone who has earned the right to hear your shame.
Yeah,
Because
100%.
you can say, like, I've shared with people who didn't, and it put me so much deeper into that issue because it was just like I went for help and I was shamed for it.
Yeah.
So you just be careful with who you share that stuff with. I know that
Hmm.
the term like earn, but like it's trust. Someone has to
Yeah.
earn your trust and want to be able to like assist you. So I understand why a lot of people hide it, because they don't know who's going to make it worse for them, essentially.
Exactly. And I mean, like I said, I always say reach out to somebody that, you love and loves you. But at the same time, that's still so scary, because if your group is small and you only have a select few people who do love you, you're so scared of losing that connection or having them look at you differently or think of you differently. It is definitely scary. But I mean, like you said, you go to somebody you trust, go to somebody that at the end of the day loves you and wants your well-being to be, first thing.
Hmm.
It's hard. It's hard.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get one of these cleanings that you're going to do. It's a hazmat situation. How do you suit up? What do you do to prepare to go into one of those spaces?
So I have like full white suits. They zip right up. They literally go like the only thing exposed is like this much of my face. And then
Mm-hmm.
I wear a full face respirator or a half face respirator, depending on the situation and how bad it is. Extra shoe coverings, double gloves. I look like look like I'm on it's actually funny that I'm saying this now because there was an older gentleman who was in the hospital and I had a social worker contact me because the nurses went with him after he got a little better. He was still in the hospital, but after he got a little better, they went with him to his apartment to get some of his stuff. And when they went in, they were like, we cannot release you here next week. There's no way you're going home. We're going to have to either bring you to a shelter or, so they reached out to me and I went in, cleaned the whole place out, got him a new bed. And actually, while I was there, I was standing outside bringing some of my gear in and somebody from apartment above came out and they were like, what happened? And I was like, what do you mean? What happened? And they were like, well, why is the hazmat team here again? Like, is there a crime scene? And I guess a week prior, something had happened on that street where they had a bunch of people in white suits come in and taking pictures and they had it all, blocked off. So he thought I was there cleaning up some kind of a crime
Oh,
scene
no.
because of how suited I was. I was like, no, like nothing like that happened. I'm just here cleaning out a place. Like everybody's okay.
Yeah.
But that's how suited I am. I literally look like I'm walking onto a crime scene.
Because what would happen if you didn't have those things?
I deal with a lot of like, not only just there's rodents and droppings and stuff like that and breathing in chemicals. I have to use a lot of heavy, strong chemicals because of the mold and droppings that are basically in every place I go. But a lot of places I go, there's bugs, bed bugs.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've even gone places that have had bot flies, which you normally don't find unless there is something deceased in the home.
Oh.
But it's just been one of the worst cases. There was bot flies everywhere and it was getting into the neighboring apartment through and the worst part was the guy next door was like a clean freak, like cleaning all the time. So when he saw me coming, he's like, what's going on? Is this why I have flies in my place? Like I'm going crazy. I'm cleaning every day. They keep coming back and I don't understand why. And it was going literally through the vents, through the bathroom vents into his apartment. But it was a poor little old woman. She was unfortunately reusing toilet paper and pads, like sanitary pads, and had like a big metal shelf in front of her toilet, like 4 metal, shelves that she just piled. I think I removed 4 industrial sized garbage bags of used toilet paper out of one little bathroom. It was absolutely a sin, but there, anything like that, I don't want to bring anything like that home with me, right? So
No.
I strip down before I even leave and change my whole outfit and get in the car. But she, I felt very, very bad for her. That was the first time I've ever seen bot flies, especially like that, without something.
Have you been to places where there were like not deceased people?
No, but I've been to a couple places where I've found quite a few deceased rodents and things around that have been there for a long time. So I've seen like a couple here and there, but this was like a bathroom full. Like the wall was just speckled with these bot flies, and they're like they're big and they're loud. It's not something most people get to see in their lifetime.
I can't say that I actually even know what one looks like. Maybe Bilal, you want to toss in a bot fly picture right here so people can see what that is? Just be conscious of that. Do you have a particular cleaning that you can point to that like, because you're obviously a very empathetic and like in touch with your feelings type person. Is there one one story that sticks out to you that just touched you the most?
Yes. And normally I do keep up with people that I've done these free cleanings for, and I check in with them and make sure they're okay and don't need me again. And there's one very sweet woman who is a single mom. She is an older mom. She had her kids at an older age, and both of her boys have disabilities. So she has an older boy who I think he's like in his early 20s, and a younger one who is 12, who is, nonverbal, has some behavioral issues and things like that. So she's getting older and having a hard time keeping up, and her mental health is degrading. And that's kind of why she got in the situation she did. And my heart hurt for her because after the first day that I was there and cleaned it out, just the way she came in and broke down, I could see just how bad she needed it and how she was just hanging on. And she cried and told me that I literally saved her life. She thought she was going to, have her kids taken, and that would have been it for her. She would have ended it all. And just, 2 days of my time literally saved someone's life. And to the point where the next time I came back to continue cleaning, she brought her mom over, her elderly mother, to thank
Mm.
me. Her mother's Christian, absolutely, like, reads the Bible every day. Came over to, she started like praying on me and was like, you were sent from God. I mean, despite anybody's religion, to have a little old lady,
Yeah.
doing that to you, being like, you saved my daughter's life. It's something that I don't think I'll ever forget, and something that it's just an experience that will, I'll carry with me for a lifetime. But I've
Hmm.
continued this relationship with her, and it's like she's my friend now, almost like part of my family. I just have such a soft spot for her, just knowing, 2 days of my time, literally, she could see the light at the end of the tunnel. She's just, such an amazing, caring person. And again, it goes back to that judgment where I think she felt so much shame that she couldn't develop relationships with other people. She didn't feel worthy of love and friendship. And it's just amazing getting to watch somebody transform like that. So that first clean, I mean, I've gone back a couple of times to help her keep up, but that first clean was probably 6 or 7 months ago. And we still chat every couple of days. She lets me know that what she's kept up with or what she's doing, or, just anything. So it's just
Yeah.
amazing to watch somebody flourish and grow, and watch her mental health go from absolutely nothing to she's doing things for herself now. She's really trying. She has that spark back. So I think that's definitely the one that has touched me the most, that I don't think I will ever forget.
What is it? What is it? Because I told you that, like, I did a lot of therapy, and I found that when I was struggling to be okay, because sometimes the sessions were rough, I found that I could always clean, and that would set me in the right place. What is it about cleaning that helps people's brains operate better?
Well, it's just one of those. I mean, everybody's brain works differently, but at the end of the day, when you are finishing tasks, you're getting that hit of dopamine that you need. Again, whether you have ADHD or not, everybody loves a good hit of dopamine. Everybody loves a,
Hmm.
impulsive shopping spree or whatever it may be. And cleaning's the one thing you can do that you don't have to put a lot of brain work into. You don't have to really think it or overthink it. It's something that you know how to do, or, it's just one simple thing that you're doing at a time. So it's very easy to kind of shut your brain off while you're doing it, and you just get that little bit of peace. You get the satisfaction of it being done, and your brain is registering it every time you do something like that. You're finishing business, you're finishing tasks and jobs. So when you do that and then you get to look around and see your nice, clean, comfortable space, you just get that feeling of, not like the opposite of overwhelm. You just get that clarity, that bit of clarity that you need.
Do you think
I
there's an
think
aspect of feeling like of in control as well?
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
It's like you're almost like you can take on the world when your house is spotless or clean. If you spend that much time cleaning and you look around and you get that comfortable feeling, that cozy feeling, like they say when you light a candle and everything's clean, you
Hmm.
just get that feeling of like you are in control, you're completing things, you're finishing tasks, you're on top of stuff. And that sets you up success for the other tasks in your life and all of the other
Hmm.
aspects of your life, right? Like if you're getting that good feeling, you can do anything.
I think we're like, especially with like how fast social media goes, and like our brains are not meant to consume this much different information. We're also being programmed by our algorithms.
Mhm.
Like, you have to really take control. And I feel like maybe cleaning, an aspect of that is it takes a while, and there's a
Mhm.
different type of hit than when you do something and there's immediate result, and you do
Yeah.
something and you've put in the work. Do you understand that
Oh,
concept?
100%. And that's why a lot of people, when they should be cleaning, or they tell themselves like, oh, I'm going to clean today, and then they end up doom scrolling on TikTok for 6 hours. Like I've done it. I've been there, right? Like
Yes.
when you get in that mode where you don't have that motivation, it's a lot easier to get that instant gratification where you're just sitting there. But it uses so much of your brain power that people aren't conscious of. And it takes so much of that like social battery that people aren't
Yes.
conscious of, that when you're doing that, you are just exhausting yourself. You're getting that fast, easy, instant gratification. But then when you're done, you sit back, you're absolutely exhausted. You have no
Yep.
battery left, even though you just sat there for however long, and you look around and it's just chaos. But again, it's easier to sit there and avoid it and just use it as a form of procrastination, right? Same as like binge watching TV shows or, doing whatever else you can except for the task that you should be doing. If it's
Mm-hmm.
easier, you get faster gratification. Yes. But at the end of the day, when you do things like cleaning and you get that gratification, it's longer lasting because you're living in it. It's your space. It's self-care. It's, you're doing it
Yeah.
for yourself to avoid future overwhelm and to avoid that anxiety in, a day or an hour when you're like, holy crap, I should have done this and I didn't. And now, I don't have any energy to do it. So it's
Mm-hmm. I found
definitely
as I started to like understand my introverted nature, that I found that all that scrolling, which essentially was numbing, that's all it was.
Mhm.
I was trying to numb out. It would take away from my ability to connect with people because I had expended everything that I had on this scrolling of stuff that wasn't making me feel. It's really hard to break that. I had to put limits on things, and
Yeah.
I have like a list over here. It's like, instead of scrolling, do this.
Do this.
And
Yeah.
having that physical list has been massive, and being able to check it off because it's a continual thing. And I found that like once I got into the flow, like people say, start with making your bed, it's an accomplishment. And
Yeah.
if you start with one, I think too often, like, and I do this too because I'm a big picture person,
Mhm.
so I always use like mountains as an example. I live near the Rocky Mountains, right? Yes, the top of that mountain is so far away, and it's going to take a lot of work to get there, but none of that matters as much as the one step in front of me. So if I
Baby
just
steps.
mm-hmm.
All the way. I am right there with you. I tell people all the time, like, if you're having trouble staying on task and you're struggling with other things and procrastination, write it all down. And I know it sounds redundant because, it's, you shouldn't have to write it down. People think, I should just be able to do it. But I say write it down, whether it's brushing your teeth, drinking water, brushing your hair, whatever it is, write it down. And when you feel that need to, like you said, go scroll, go to that list, pick whatever is the, least amount of effort on that list and start there. And it's like a snowball effect. Once you start to
Mm-hmm.
do those little things, they come easier. And then it's about forming habits. And I always say, don't go full throttle. Don't try to change your entire lifestyle in one shot because it's totally unrealistic. Do
Yeah.
one small thing, whatever's the most important, whether it's like, if you're struggling, whether it's brushing your teeth or drinking water or, like you said, making your bed, whatever it is, pick one thing. Force yourself to do it tomorrow. The next day, it will be easier to force yourself. And then the
Mm-hmm.
next day, it'll just be habit. And then you add another habit in. And eventually you will see those positive changes take effect and they become a lot easier. And then you'll notice other things in your life become a lot easier. I'm somebody that like 10 years ago, I couldn't make a phone call to save my life. If I had to get like a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment, I wanted to call my mom, right? I'm like, mommy, please. Yeah.
Like, can I text my doctor,
yeah.
please? Like,
right? Just little things like that. Things that would come up that just shouldn't have stressed me out, but stressed me out to no end where I would be nauseous, right? And I realized when I started to take those little steps to try to do what I could to control the rest of my life and things that I knew would positively impact my mental health and well-being, things like that started to become easier. So it's just, again, forming those small, tiny habits, baby steps. Don't look at that end goal. Just focus on the little steps because those are what's going to get you there.
Mm-hmm. Now, as someone who also has been making TikToks for a while, sometimes the comments can be really insensitive. And I actually, wow, you had a clapback recently, and I was like, whoa, I thought Canadians were supposed to be nice, but apparently they got a bunch of F around and find out. It was very impressively done, by the way.
Oh, no.
Because you smacked them in almost still a semi-loving way.
Kill them with kindness.
Yeah, well,
to a certain extent. Yeah.
You burned them pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
what are
when they deserve it.
Yeah. What are the most common things that you hear in comment sections about the cleans that you do? And what are your responses to those things?
The one thing that every keyboard warrior loves to say is that these people are lazy and they choose to live like that. And I can't express enough that laziness is a concept made up to shame people. People do not live like that for the fun of it. They don't live like that because they like to or they choose to, or, you know, they're lazy and just not cleaning. Something is causing that. Nobody likes to live like that. No one likes to live in, you know, absolute chaos, garbage everywhere, mice running around. Like, it's just the amount of times I have somebody comment being like, "Oh, they're just lazy. They just need to get up off their butts and clean it." And like, it's so simple, right? I'm like, okay, go to the next depressed person and just say, "Hey, stop being depressed."
Why don't you just smile a little bit more, you
You
know? Just keep
know,
a positive mental attitude. I was like,
like,
wow, you're trying to get hurt, huh?
yeah. And I mean, I can only take so much of it. And I normally
Yeah.
don't, I really try not to even acknowledge them. Like, I don't normally engage with them. But when you get so many of them, eventually
Get
one of
ya.
them just like, dude, it was like the last, you know, the last straw.
Yeah.
But and I mean, again, I get them to myself all the time too. When you have a big platform the way I do, it's, you know, not everybody's going to be nice. People love to be mean on TikTok. It's like the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had comments telling me, like, you know, I've had cereal boxes in the back of my videos and people comment being like, "Oh, why are you purposely giving your kids cancer? Like, why would you feed them cereal?" And I'm like, are you kidding me, Deborah? Like,
So it got
come
very specific,
on.
but you painted a picture of who Deborah is.
You
Okay.
know what I mean, though? Like, it's just too much sometimes. But I normally, like, those ones I'll laugh off because I'm like, holy cow, get a hobby. Like, go outside and get some fresh air or do something, right? But when they get a little too personal with the folks who, I mean, I have a
Mm,
soft spot for them, right? They get so
yeah.
much judgment and they carry so much shame anyways. They don't need that extra shame from people. It's just like kicking somebody when they're down. So sometimes they do, you know, I have to kind of put people in their place and be like, listen, wake up, have the day you deserve, right?
Yeah. Something I try to that also keep in mind is people who are doing well aren't making comments like that. So it's just another hurt person trying to
Hurt somebody else.
hurt
Yeah.
somebody else, you know. I
Mm-hmm.
hate that hurt people phrase because it's just like
Shitty.
it just like it feels like a cop out. But I do like understand. I try to be understanding, but it's people make
Only
it
so
very
much. Yeah. You can
I
only
have
take it
limits.
so much, right?
Okay, can I pick your brain about cleaning for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna rapid fire some things. What should people use on these certain items, or what would pop in your mind to use if you were doing this sort of clean? Okay, blood.
Oh,
You don't clean blood?
no.
You don't?
No. I've never in my entire like last year of doing these free cleanings, I've never had to clean up blood.
Oh, good for
Knock
you.
on wood. Oh my goodness. Watch my next
Feces.
clean. Oh, see,
How do you clean?
this is where things get tricky because some people don't like what I use. I know everybody says not to use bleach on any like urine or feces. I do love my Clorox, the clean up the green bottle.
Mm-hmm.
It's got such a low bleach content in it and it's so diluted. And when I'm all masked up and stuff like that, you know, it's just one of the only things I can use to actually get rid of it. I know they say you're not
Mm-hmm.
supposed to, but at the end of the day, I use blue lights when I'm dealing with feces and urine, right? I make sure I get absolutely everything
Wow.
gone so that there's nothing there left. And I'm telling you, I've tried everything. And that green bottle of the cleanup Clorox spray is the only one that will get it all gone so that when I go back through with that blue light, there's no yet bright yellow shining back
Yeah.
at me, the fluorescent yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about like sinks? You like working on kitchens? Like, what are the best ways to get the gunk out in a sink?
The gunk out in the sink, I normally use the power paste, or you can use like Barkeeper's Friend or something like that, something with a grit that has that
Yeah.
gritty texture in it, because that will get everything up. I mean, if you don't have anything like that, baking soda and like a water and dish soap mixture will work just as fine. You just need that kind of gritty texture to scrub that up.
Do you do anything with smell?
I do. Depends on what it is. If it's urine, I do deal with a lot of urine. There's a lot of animals normally in the homes that I go to, a lot of cats basically in every home.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that's an enzyme based cleaner. If it's not an enzyme based cleaner, it's not doing anything to that urine. It's not diluting it. It's not pulling it up. But yeah, an enzyme based cleaner will get rid of that smell.
Mm-hmm. What's your connection with Scrub Daddy?
I've been a ride or die scrub daddy since before I even started TikTok.
Oh
And
yeah.
when yeah. And it was actually funny the year that I started working with Scrub Daddy, the day that I signed with them to, collaborate with them and be a Scrub Daddy partner was actually 2 years. I got a throwback on Facebook. I hate those
Mm.
memory throwbacks,
Oh
but I
yeah.
got, but I got a throwback of me buying my first Scrub Daddy from Bed Bath and Beyond. And it was 2 years to the day that I actually decided, I want to work with this company. They are amazing in what I do, and they, support what I do to absolutely no end. They make sure I have all of the Scrub Daddy supplies I need, and they send extras for the homes that I clean. So they are absolutely amazing. I can't say enough about them.
Is it a
but
superior product or is it branding?
100,000% it's a superior product.
Well,
I
why?
will take that with me to the grave.
Well, stay alive and explain to me then.
Every other sponge is just, honestly, they're sponges. They're just normal sponges, right? They get gross, they get stinky, they really don't scrub very well whatsoever. You may as well use a cloth. Like my mother,
Yeah.
I never had a sponge in my house growing up. My mom used the knitted, the little old lady, like the knitted cloths, and that was all she would use. And like it doesn't work. You're just sloshing
Yeah.
stuff around on a dirty plate or whatever. So
Yeah.
what I love about them is not only do they not smell, you can sanitize them. I throw them in the top rack of my dishwasher on a hot cycle, and they come out clean as a whistle, like they're brand new. But they're hard in cold water. They're hard, like physically hard, like a brick. Like you can bang it on something. So if you're scrubbing a pot that has stuff crusted all over it, or it's just so good for scrubbing. But then if you need it to be like a sponge and soak up something, you put it in warm water and it gets spongy and soft and squishy. I'm obsessed with them, and they don't rip because they're more of like, I forget what the actual word is for the material that they use, but it's almost like plasticky instead of spongy. So they don't disintegrate. They don't start to break down and kind of get, that gross crumpled look, right? They last so much longer. They're worth it. I love them.
All right, Scrub Daddy, I'm going to send you this section of the podcast, and if you want to use it as advertisement, we'll talk.
But honestly, they reached out to me long ago because they saw that I was already using their products, that I was already giving them all of the promotion in the world, because I've been ride or die Scrub Daddy since before TikTok was even a thing in my world. So,
and hopefully they also believe in what it is that you're doing.
Well, that's basically what they do. They only work with a couple of creators, and all of us basically do along the lines of the same style thing. They like the people that aren't judgmental, right? They love where we come from. The one thing that they loved the most when they reached out to me was how pro mental health I was. And that was the key thing, that they were like, we love this. Like, we absolutely love your style and where you come from and how much you actually care. So they don't, just go work with anybody. That's one of the main things that I do really love about them.
Good job, Scrub Daddy. We're proud of you here on the
Ride or
Unfiltered
die
Friends
till the
podcast.
end.
I have a few questions from viewers if you're down to answer some of those.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you guys ever want to send questions to the guests that I have on, I do it through Patreon, patreon.com/unfilteredfriends. The first question comes from Hallie. Says, have you ever been afraid of a job or said no to a job?
Never said no to a job. I have said no to traveling for jobs because, again, 3 kids, it's not very easy for me to hop on a plane to do a job. But in my area, I've never said no to a job. I triage them worst case scenario first. But I have been scared a couple of times, not scared necessarily to do the job. But when you have rodents running around, I'm a jumpy person, okay? Like, my kids come out from around the corner and I'm like 5 feet in the air screaming, right? So when I'm doing one of these cleans, and it's dead silent when I do them because I obviously record them so I don't have sounds in the background and nobody's home, so it'll be dead silent, and then all of a sudden you'll hear like these little rustling or something, right? And you're like, where is it gonna come from? Because the amount of times I've had them pop, they pop out, man. They are like,
they'll get you.
And they'll run across your feet or something. I had one place that had such a bad infestation that, like, every time I opened a cupboard door to clean out what was in it, like 5 of them would just go off in
Have you ever had
directions.
raccoons?
No.
Okay,
no raccoons.
let me tell you. No, not raccoons. Raccoons are cool. I'm talking about skunks. Have you ever had skunks?
No.
Those They do not care. I've been chased by skunks. I was just
I
walking up
believe
my
it.
street and two skunks I was like ran past, there was like a traffic cone. I'm like, because you got to stay 8 feet away from them because they can spray pretty far.
Oh,
They
yeah.
chased me all the way to my yard and I had to like hop the fence so they wouldn't get me. So just be careful with skunks. I'm just saying.
That is what nightmares are made of.
I was like, wait, no, you're supposed to be afraid of me. I'm bigger than you. But they're like, you're actually afraid of us.
Yeah.
And we can tell.
Oh, that's funny.
Mammy wants to know what's your favorite cleaning solution. So you can go into a job. You can pick one thing to bring to that job to clean it up. What would be like your number one draft pick?
Number one draft pick. Honestly, the hydrogen peroxide Clorox spray. It's in a blue bottle. It's good for everything, right? You can use it all over the place. It's also a low scent, so you're not getting that strong kickback scent. But definitely the blue hydrogen peroxide Clorox spray.
Okay. I'm taking notes for myself as well.
Are you?
On this one. I was never I wasn't a filthy person, but I didn't prioritize cleaning like I do now. I just feel
right.
I
think people overthink cleaning supplies a little bit too. At the end of the day, if
have
they're
you
made
seen those
to do
videos
something,
where they just like have the cleaning product and cleaning product and cleaning product? It's like, this seems so overkill.
It's overkill and it's unsafe. You're not supposed to mix. Yeah, you're not supposed to mix cleaning supplies. You're not supposed to mix chemicals. I watch some of these videos and I'm like, you are literally creating
like mustard
something
gas.
that will literally either knock you out, it's killing your lungs, it's burning your eyes and your nostrils, and you're just throwing your brain cells away. I watch that and I'm like, it makes my whole body hurt.
Show.
It's just for show, just for the views. They do it because they want people to comment on it, either calling them wasteful or telling them they're like creating chemical hazards or whatever, right? They're doing it for the views. But it drives me nuts because like, stop. I watched one yesterday that was a girl pouring different laundry detergents in a washing machine. And I'm like, girl, are you trying to like flood your house or break your washing?
What is on your clothes too?
Insane.
Jenny asked, how do you set boundaries and not overextend yourself when it comes to offering your services?
I'm actually really good at this one. Again, I'm a people pleaser as well, and I am like a yes man. If I can say yes and help you, I will. And that's, I think, one of my greatest strengths and one of my greatest weaknesses at the same time. But I have grown to be very good at setting boundaries. There have been times where I've gone into cleanings and they have wanted me to come back and do specific things that I won't do. See, I am more than happy to go clean and help deep clean and remove garbage. I am not a professional organizer. I'm not a professional like declutterer, if you would. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. So they'll expect me to come clean their spaces and then come back and help them organize what's left and, set them up for success in the future, right? And I'm more than happy to give people tips and things, but when it comes to that, I do have to say no, because that's so time consuming and such a difficult task for somebody who is already living in these situations, because they are hoarder style, so they don't want to get rid of anything, and it's hard to work through that process with them. That's where they really need basically a therapist to come in and help them get to the deeper rooted issues instead of just trying to organize the clutter. So I have had to say no quite a bit to that. And I have had some people get upset with me for that, but I have to prioritize my time for the actual free cleanings.
Yeah. How much of the mental health part of it are you involved with at all? Do you have to work in conjunction with a therapist, or like, how does that work?
It's different for every single scenario. Sometimes they don't want any kind of help whatsoever. They just really need that cleaning. And if that's all they want and need, that's great. Sometimes I will sit down and have full on conversations with them and just them. It's more so the awareness of them being aware of what's going on, because these people have spent so long shutting down and trying to block it out and just not pay attention to it and like think about anything else but what's actually happening. When they sit down and speak to somebody who they know understands, they know gets that it's mental health and not a personal choice and who they are as people, just that alone helps them open up so much that it kind of helps them realize like, hey, I can get out of this. I can, make the proper steps to pull myself out of this and help my mental health. And they make that correlation and connection most of the time on their own. Like I know myself, I've sat in therapy before, and all it takes is just talking it out sometimes to get that light bulb moment and be like, holy cow, it makes sense. Like, it's like that clarity that you need. So I do that a lot of the times with people. But at the same time, I have to draw those boundaries, and I have to, this is not work when it comes to psychology. This is work when it comes to cleaning. I'm happy to
Yeah,
listen. I'm happy to give tips and help, but I don't sit down and have full on like sessions with them.
that's
A
good.
couple of times I have hooked them up with people local. Unfortunately, where we live, there's very minimal free help and government
Mm-hmm.
help. Clearly, considering what I do, there's no paid work for what I do. There's no, even through social work, they'd kick you out and evict you and send you to a homeless shelter before they'd actually come help you, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's very limited when it comes to things like that. Thankfully, I do have a contact at our local children's hospital in the mental health unit there. So if there are children involved in these homes or living in these homes, I'll give the parents their number. And a few children have actually been referred, and I'm not sure how it ended up turning out, but at least, they got to go and talk it out at the very least, because
Mm-hmm.
it's going to affect the kids as much as it is the adults as well. So at least I can give them that.
Yeah, that was something I wanted to ask earlier, because you talked about, the child opening the refrigerator and crying, and
Yeah.
like, I mean, you can't really. How do you talk to people who love hoarders about how to be there for? Can you, like, how do you support the people who are affected by the hoarding outside of the person who's causing it?
It's hard, especially when they're children. Most of the times, it's either all of the adults in the house doing it, but kids are the main ones affected. The mother actually of that one said how bad her daughter had anxiety and how upset she was that she couldn't have her friends over after school and things, right? And that was one of the main reasons why she was so excited that it was clean. The first thing she asked her mom was, "Can my friends come over tomorrow?" Right? I just don't think people really realize that it affects everybody in the home, and in kids it affects them in different ways, because they don't realize when you grow up in an environment like that, you don't know what it's like to grow up in a clean home. You don't know that these things are directly affecting your mental health when they are. So it's something that as soon as I started, I did everything I could to get in contact with the children's mental health unit at the main hospital here, because I wanted to be able to give them some kind of resource. And for children, it's a lot easier to get free help than for adults. So in every instance that I've had children, I've referred them there.
Hmm. So, someone, this will be our final question. Drum roll. If
Mhm.
somebody is wanting the help that you give in their area, what guidance do you have for them to seek help to get a cleaner like you to come help them?
So that's difficult because everywhere is different. I would contact whoever their local, like here it would be our local MLA. Just somebody in power in your area is basically, if you're looking for an actual like cleaning company to come in. I don't think there's very many free cleaners around, unfortunately, who are offering
Yeah.
these types of cleanings. It is hard because, again, between your time, the products, PPE, and I'm also have to pay for insurance in case anything happens to me or the home while I'm there, right? It's not something that a lot of people can freely offer.
Hmm.
So definitely talk to somebody in power. Look into your government. A lot of places will have like subsidized like and payment plans for things like this. But it's hard. That's one of the reasons why I started. It's not a very common thing to be around, which I think it should be. I think there should be tons of government opportunities offering things like this to people struggling, right?
Hmm.
But local mental health resources may have tips of where to go for things like that. It all would depend on, again, the area that you're located in. When I was doing the fundraising to have people come in for free cleanings, that's one of the main things that I had issues with. Was some places it was very easy to find companies that did white suit cleanings, and then in some places it was like there would be hours of a distance of a drive to just find a company that would do them. So it's difficult. But local mental health resources, somebody in power in the government, like our local MLA is amazing and
What does
contacts
MLA
me.
stand for?
Oh my god.
Mental
No,
legumes
she
aardvarks.
she's like the person in our area that's in charge of, if find an MLA. I think it would be called something different in the States. But basically, like, we have an MLA for, like, I'm in Nova Scotia. So for, like, Eastern Passage, we have an MLA leader who is
Member
PC.
of
We have another one who
legislation.
is, Liberal,
Member of the
NDP.
Legislative Assembly.
Yeah. So whoever's, like, in power of
Government.
your area. Yeah. For
Yeah.
government wise. You can, Google it for your area. It will come up, whoever they are. But ours is very extremely resourceful. So if you, send her an email with a question, no matter what it is, if it has to do with in your area, they're pretty quick to want to help or to be able to find resources a lot faster.
Mm-hmm. If you could say something to calm the shame or anxiety surrounding someone who needs help with how messy their space is and they feel like they can't reach out, what kind of, like, how would you calm someone who's struggling with keeping their space clean to the point of hoarding?
It's hard. I always just tell people to do your best to love yourself through the process, because at the end of the day, like, that's what's going to keep you going. But to always remember that, again, your self-worth is not dependent on the cleanliness of your home. At the end of the day, who you are as a human being has nothing to do with your outside external factors, your surrounding environment, anything like that. Most of the time, these people are the most loving, amazing, genuine people in their hearts, but they don't feel that way, and they don't feel lovable, and they don't feel like, deserving human beings because of the mess around them. So at the end of the day, it's not about cleaning. It's not about the mess. It's about you truly loving yourself, knowing you're worthy, knowing you're deserving of a clean, comfortable home. Your, again, self-worth, it's not dependent on that, whether or not you have a clean home. It's, at the end of the day, you are who you are. You're a human being. We are all capable and deserving of love and self-love. So just loving yourself through that process is key.
And a lot of people are going through the same thing and sitting in that silence, not realizing they're probably sitting next to someone who's also experiencing something similar. So
yeah, I say that all the time. A lot of people ask me, like, how many people do I think actually go through this? And I say, go outside and look down the street, and I bet you 1 in every 5 houses, someone is struggling like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for, I want to give you some acknowledgement. Like, you've got a big heart and you're a person who's chosen to take action and be of service. And that's something that a lot of people won't do. And I know that it takes a lot of your energy and time, and you already are a mom of 3. You got your own life outside of this. So, like, thank you for being who you are.
Permanently tired.
Yeah. Thank you for being who you are. If people want to reach out to you, where's the best place for them to do that?
Anywhere, TikTok, Instagram, anybody can email me, nottheworstcleaner@outlook.com. I do get a lot of messages. So if anybody messages me and needs to really get in contact, re-message me so it bumps up to the top. I know you know this firsthand. I'm not,
I was like, so where can I message you? Or
literally, like, text message, I'm right back and forth. But everything else, just, I set blocks of time aside to go through my messages and emails and scroll, or else I'm, doom scrolling through them all day long. But I do, if you, message me and I don't get back right away, re-message me so it bumps up to the top. It doesn't bother me at all. I know a lot of people are worried about, bugging me or messaging too many times. Please do it, because you will get lost in the sea.
Guys.
Yeah, you will get lost in the sea.
Bit, and I've been mutuals with her for years now. So
I promise eventually I'll get there.
But thank you so much for your time, and thanks for being on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.